Hi everyone, just want to give a brief overview today for the Photovoice projects that you'll all be participating in and completing. Photovoice is a really important process in narrative work, in narrative approaches to looking at social issues. But more importantly, it highlights the value of integration and participatory research that was popularized and made famous by Paulo Freire. And Photovoice began really in the early 1990s. One of the first Photovoice projects, or the development of Photovoice, was from a project by Carolyn Wang and Mary Ann Barris in 1992. The project originated with rural women in China's Yunnan province with the hope to empower marginalized individuals by giving them cameras to document their lives, their needs, and community issues to influence policymakers. This was a grant project that they had from the Ford Foundation, and these two women made the decision to incorporate this participatory research element with these cameras through Photovoice. And it's based off of some theoretical grounding, which is Paulo Freire's critical consciousness theory, which is community action through reflection, aspects of feminist theory, where we put into value participant voice and the voice of the underserved or, quote, marginalized, and documentary photography. The purpose of Photovoice is aimed to establish and enable participants to record community strengths and concerns and promote critical dialogue and influence policymakers. That's what's really key, is you're going to be incorporating elements of what the participants and community constituents are going to say is really valuable and helpful and meaningful for them. So that's an important aspect. So Photovoice has three main goals, as we discussed: record and reflect personal and community strengths and concerns, promote this critical dialogue and knowledge, and reach policymakers. And we're doing community organizing and development in this sense, in establishing and connecting to policymakers. Photovoice is based off, as we discussed, the theoretical aspects of critical consciousness, Paulo Freire, feminist theory, and non-traditional photography. There are 5 key concepts to Photovoice that are very important. Concept number 1 is that images teach. We all know the adage of a picture is worth 1,000 words, and Photovoice really highlights that aspect, that pictures are worth 1,000 words. Pictures can also influence policy, and policymakers react to constituents' personal stories, but more so they are moved by images that they see of social issues that are in their communities. And community participants, constituents, individuals should be active participants in their communities to create and evoke change. And these images can help to shape meaningful and helpful public policy aspects. So those are important 3 concepts. The remaining concepts are: the process requires that planners bring to the table policymakers and other influential people to serve as an audience. That is why we ask that you participate and present this in a public forum, so that you have that practice experience and so that you can also see the importance of the participants' role in this practice experience, giving a voice to the voiceless, literally, by having this in a public forum. And Photovoice emphasizes individual and community action. Now, the Photovoice methods: we select and recruit a target audience of policymakers or community leaders or individuals in the community. We want to select individuals that we see as these community, quote, community leaders or policymakers. But really, that process is left to you, because the selection of these members can change based on who you approach, what areas you approach, etc. So that's also very key and important, that you be mindful of who you are asking to participate in this. And we discussed the Photovoice process, and we facilitated group discussion through the SHOWD, SHOW, small e, D process, SHOWD process, which we'll talk about in a second. So the Photovoice method is we obtain informed consent. We're not providing an invention or treatment. This is not a, quote, research project in that there is an experiment. We want to simply give an opportunity for individuals, community members, to be participants in their communities through images. We ask that there be an initial theme for the pictures. Most often the theme that's used is tell me about your community or your culture, but any variation of that is helpful. And we distribute cameras. You can use other means as well, phones, video, etc. But cameras are seen as a low-tech way to introduce individuals to this process and to also have them understand that activism is relatively simple for them to do. We discuss with them how to use the cameras. We take the photos, we review the photos with them in that SHOWD process, and that's basically it. We are also asking you during the SHOWD process to ask these questions, 5 simple questions. What do you see here? What is really happening here? And how does this relate to our lives? And why does this situation, concern, or strength exist? And then finally, what can we do about it? These elements are really critical in that these elements of these questions help to generate discourse and dialogue. We are doing qualitative work, and so there will be some theming. You will work with the instructors to capture some of these themes. And most importantly, I have included an example from a actual Photovoice SHOWD process, which is based off of a discussion from a website which is on YouTube, which is Health Studies TWU, the CCDE Photovoice Narrative RICS photos. So please check those out. Finally, if you have any questions, please reach out to your individual instructor. But you will see at the end when we comprise and build this presentation the impacts and the involvement of the community participants and in your role and how effective this is in making real change in communities. Thanks.